Alright, so the ATF of all people are about to breathe life back into the AK-47 like, come on buddy, come back to us. Yeah, you can say what you want about this administration, and you know what? Most of the stuff I'll probably agree with you on because they fucked a lot of shit up. But I gotta hand it to them when it comes to the gun things. I have never seen this sort of pro-gun movement from any administration ever. And I'm not old, okay, but I'm older. We're gonna go with older. And it's always been the administration, one after another, like taking little chunks out of the Second Amendment and taking little chunks out of our ability to purchase affordable firearms at a reasonable price. Ugh. And then this administration comes along and they're backing stuff down. So we're going to be talking about that today, exactly like what killed the AK-47 and how the ATF might be bringing it back to life. Before we get into that though, don't forget to shop at Only Tactical Fans at Shopify.com. That is the merchandise store that supports all of this. Because I'm permanently demonetized from YouTube. I have MREs for short-term survival food. I got Mylar bags for long-term survival food. I have a whole bunch of medical equipment, glow sticks, lock-picking equipment, all the stuff that you would actually need if you're watching this channel. So go check it out. Appreciate the support there. That's what keeps everything going. If you've already shopped there, thank you. And if you're thinking about shopping there, here's a thank you in advance. So let's get into it. To the Digital Board of Knowledge! So we're going to be talking about the market today and how they killed the cheap AK-47, a rough timeline. Now I'm going to hit the bullet points. There's a lot to this. A lot of stuff I'm just not going to cover. We're going to hit the major bullet points, but the AK died by 1,000 cuts. Just a little chip here, a little chip there, a little chip there. We're just going to hit the bigger carve-outs for the AK-47. Alright, so the first one is in 1989. This was the first major hammer. This happened after the Stockton shooting. Basically in July 7th or 8th, 1989, the Bush administration made a permanent ban on the AK-47, saying that it no longer met the sporting purposes requirements. 43 specific semi-automatic rifles were banned, all Chinese AK-47s. Now, when I say AK-47s, it's just, it rolls off my tongue the best, but this also will always include 74. So instead of me saying AK-47 and AK-74, I'm just saying AK-47. So assume that this could also be including 74 whenever I say it, all right? Most foreign parts, pattern AK guns, they failed the sporting purposes test, shifted to parts. This is when it went from getting an actual, like, say a Russian AK-47 or a Chinese AK-47. Now we're going to get a Chinese AK-47 parts kit and we're going to rebuild it. So basically at that point in time, the receiver would be demilled, it would be chopped up, so we'd have to take an American receiver and then put all the Chinese parts on there. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the actual parts you can use and stuff. Well, actually this is a slide right here. 922R. This was the next big hit. So like, alright, so you know what? You guys just want to circumvent what we're trying to do here. We tell you can't bring in rifles, so then you start bringing in parts because that's scrap metal. Well, yeah, that's not going to fly. What we're going to do here is we're going to have the 922R laws applied. We're going to give you a list of parts. And under 18 U.S.C. 922R, you cannot assemble a rifle with more than 10 imported parts out of the list of 20 parts on our parts list. So they basically made a list like, all right, here's all the parts of an AK-47. They list off all 20 parts. You can pick 10. Half these parts you're allowed to use. So that just wound things back. So now you're getting down to like bolt carriers and barrels and some trunnions. It's getting really hard to have a, for example, I'm just making stuff here, a Chinese AK-47 when it's all American parts except for 10. It's getting a little tough there. Is that really a Chinese AK-47? Or is that a Chinese barrel on an American AK-47? Or a Chinese barrel and a Chinese bolt carrier on an American AK-47? That was a huge hit. Now builders must list at least 5 to 6 US-made parts. So out of all that parts, you got to have basically like 5 to 6 parts that are American-made on an imported firearm. Usually they went with like trigger groups, stocks, etc. But then the furniture, because you want to hang on to the other country's furniture because that's a huge part of the look. it basically added another $50 to $100 per rifle. And remember, this was back in the day when we're talking about a couple $100 rifles. I wasn't alive and buying firearms back then. Yes, I was alive, but I wasn't like a firearm buying age. But from what I remember, those were like $200 rifles. So when you throw another $50 to $100 on a $200 rifle, that's a lot of money. That's getting expensive fast. Then we have the AWB. This pile of shit legislation. This was from 1994 to 2004. It was a federal ban on what they called assault weapons. So September 13, 1994, no longer can firearms come in with things like threaded barrels, bayonet lugs, pistol grips. So they had to take these parts kits, assemble it on an American-made receiver. Okay, now we got to assemble it on an American-made receiver. Now we have to also include a thumbhole stock. We have to chop the threading off the barrel. Just a whole bunch of manufacturing costs on top of that, just driving up the cost of an AK. Now this did expire September 13, 2004, so that was pretty cool. That's probably the only time I've seen, until now, some sort of progression into a more free, a more Second Amendment-based system. All right, so now we have the 1997 list. So this is the basic of the video. We're going to talk about it more, but essentially what had happened is we got into a fight with the Eastern Bloc countries, right? Well, yeah, that didn't last very long. We pulled away our sanctions and stuff like that, but the ATF was like, you know what? Like, I get it. We're going to allow you to buy Russian potatoes and vodka and all that stuff, but we're going to keep a permanent sanction on the rifles. This is something the ATF did all by themselves. This wasn't like an administration or anything like that. That was just, oh, yeah, well, we're going to permanently stop you from buying rifles. And that went for a lot of Soviet states, like, for example, Ukraine, because and other places from the Eastern Bloc where most firearms and ammunitions came from. So all that died. That was a huge chunk out of the whole COMBLOC stuff in 1997. This was ATF banned 27 CPR 447-52. Basically a ban on Russian stuff. Now we get into the 2005. This is the chop-up era. So, all right, so you guys you pretty much got to put 5 American parts in there. You have to put your own receiver on there. How can we make that worse? Well, they were like, you know what? This is what we're going to do now. So now demilled rules will change. November 2005, ATF put out an open letter banning barrels too. So now supplies coming in, they have to have a torch cut through huge parts of the functionality of what makes the firearm. Specifically on the barrel through the chamber and supporting areas. On the receiver, it had to be specifically cut through the trunnion, the mag well. This is what actually Tate got caught up on. Yeah, his part came in before 2005, so it was 100% illegal. But they're like, well, yeah, we're going to pretend that 2005 chop-up era, that's retroactive. So because his wasn't torch cut, that's why he's going to federal prison. Ridiculous. Parts kits went from nearly complete, like you swap out the receiver, you can re-weld receivers, you just got to have those extra 5 parts in there, so that's relatively doable, to, yeah, we're getting chopped up scrap metal now. You have to do heavy gunsmithing on it. Very, very, very few usable parts. You definitely have to have a U.S. barrel. You're going to have to do heavy gunsmithing. It's like you're literally buying a box of scrap now. So that's what the 2005 era did. Then we got the 2014 Russian sanctions. This was a big one. This was the death of all those Sega shotguns and rifles. The Segas, if you don't remember those were a Russian manufactured rifle or shotgun, depending on what you went with. And they were cheap. They were like $299, $300. And you got a quality rifle. Yes, it had to fit under that sporting purposes thing, so it had a dumbass stock on it. And you had to recut the trigger group, right? And you had to put the trigger group in there and then put a pistol grip on there and a normal stock. But that's all you had to do. So you spent your $300 on your rifle. You put another like $100 worth of a conversion kit in it. A little bit of Dremel work. Bam, you have a solid ass rifle or shotgun. So that was the Obama thing. He wound up killing that, basically killing all Kalashnikov, clam block type rifles. Yeah, that sucked. That was a huge hit to the AK market. Overnight, cheap Russian-made rifles and parts just died. Stores were bought out almost immediately. It was pretty bad. Then Obama hit again. He hit with the 7N6, the classified the Russian ammo, the 545x39 into armor-piercing handgun ammo. Now ammo went from pennies to like 50 cents a piece. Sometimes even, I think I've seen recently like $1 or something for a single 7N6 round. That's ridiculous. Basically saying that the steel core, because these could go into a pistol, and a pistol has to have, I think it's like 85% of the projectile needs to be softer than the jacket. So therefore, because it's got a steel core, and that's technically a pistol round, that, okay, now it's armor-piercing ammunition. Ridiculous. This right here is exactly why we participate, when they put out open letters with proposal rule changing, we participate in that. Because otherwise this happens. If you don't want this, you need to participate. We didn't participate in that. The AK community was small. We're like, oh, you know, we got our AR-15s. Who really cares about the AK? Yeah, that had a ripple down effect. You know what they went after that? M855. But you know what happened when they went after M855? We were in that comment section. We were like, hey, this is ridiculous. This is not armor-piercing ammunition. Yeah, hypothetically, you could make an AR-15 pistol, but that doesn't matter. This is a rifle round. So we wind up winning that one. We did not win the 545. That's why 545 went away. That was a massive chunk because the 545 has similar ballistics to an AR-15. Yeah, the 7.62x39, that's a trash round. 545 is not that bad. So when you took away the ability to have cheap ammunition, so like, now we're at 5.56 prices to feed this, why not just go with an AR-15? So the result of all this, outrageous AK-47 and AK-74 prices. They took the classic import rifle and just absolutely destroyed it. The build kits got all chopped up and destroyed. Ammunition supplies just dove, they got all destroyed. Overall, outrageous pricing for AK-74s, AK-47s, AK-47 ammo, AK-74 ammunition. Like I said, it was a death by multiple cuts. So that's what we're getting into now. So now the ATF has a little bit of hope on the horizon. That's the proposed rule. If you guys like AK-47s, you need to be in that comment section today. So this proposed rule is to basically undo the sanctions they did in 1997. I didn't actually write the date down here. I don't remember offhand. Anyways, that is specific banning of Ukraine and Kazakhstan and other Eastern Bloc countries. If that happens, we're going to have a whole bunch of ammunition and AK-47s just get piled in. We will see prices drop. Now, what exactly are we going to see? Imagine AK-74s and AK-47s going back down to $200 to $300. That would just be crazy. I mean, what am I going to do with a $200 or $300 AK? Yep, give it to me. Come on. I want it. Yeah, that would be freaking awesome. Now, immediately I was like, oh, maybe I can finally get my hands on a Dragunov. I looked into it. No, true Dragunov SVDs, they do come from Russia and China. I don't ever really see that happening. They're never going to lift that out. So, yeah, we're still not going to get those, but we will see a whole bunch of AKs get really cheap. You know what'll happen? I'll be like, yeah! Immediately, overnight, I will stop talking shit about an AK-47. I can look past a lot of their downsides and a lot of problems they have at $200 to $300. I can't look past their downsides and their prices have when they're like $1,000 to $1,500. So I'm like, oh, I can have a substandard rifle that has reliability issues, shoots a crappy round, the ammunition is expensive, it sucks for multing and optic for $1,000 to $1,500, or I can get a premium AR-15, like a solid one, for $700 to $1,000. That's great at mounting an optic. It's more reliable. It has a modern system on it. It's just better on every single category over the AK-47. I would start making videos talking about why the AK-47 is the best rifle in the world, because it is at $200 to $300. It sure as shit ain't at $1,500 or $1,000. Yeah, the AR-15 takes it to the cleaners. But at $200 or $300, yeah, all those little quirks, those terrible ergonomics, the terrible reliability, the terrible ballistics, the terrible accuracy, I can look past that at $200. So we'll have to see what happens with that. That would be pretty awesome. And that's the whole point, because we got in a fight with those countries, and yeah, that's not really a thing anymore. But, you know, the anti-gunners were like, hey, ATF, we just want you to put a sanction on there. Forget about the State Department. And that's what they're doing with this proposed rule, is we're going to get rid of our bias and our, our sanctions, and we're just going to follow what the State Department does. So let's pretend tomorrow we and Russia become friends again. You can have a Kalashnikov here in the country, because the ATF will back away from their sanctions. Because there's State Department sanctions, and then there's ATF sanctions. Yes, it will flip by administration to administration, but we'll be able to openly get different rifles from different countries as administrations change, should they back off on this. Why the hell do they get to say where we can and can't buy firearms from? Yes, if our country puts a sanction against them, that's different. If we don't have a sanction against them, why can't I buy their guns? Why can't we have their ammunition come in? Again, this is all anti-gun stuff, but hopefully that's going to be reversed. Hopefully this is going to go through, and hopefully by the time I get my gun rights back, I'll be buying a $200 AK-47 talking about the best rifle in the goddamn world. Right here on CRS Firearms. You guys never put that on your bingo card, did you? Never seen that video coming. Well, maybe it'll be coming. We'll have to see. Anyways, appreciate you guys watching the video. Let's all get into that comment section and talk about why we want this to go through. Why we want these cheap rifles back. If you don't get in the comment section, nobody else is. If you don't do it, who else is going to do it? This is your responsibility, my responsibility, everybody that's watching this video's responsibility. You want cheap AK-47s? This is how you get cheap AK-47s. Anyways, thanks for watching the video. If you'd like to help support the channel, only tech fans at Shopify.com is the best way to do that. If you don't want to spend any money, but you still want to support the channel, click on that Amazon affiliate link. Just by clicking on that link. Even if you don't buy what that link is for, just clicking on it and doing the Amazon shopping you were already going to do anyway. I don't kickback for it because you came there off my channel. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.